I've literally wanted to share with people the language of the stars. It is literally the language, celestial concept of understanding who you are and your place in the cosmos by using the map of the sky the day that you were born. This is a very short tutorial, an Astro 101 lesson on what the astrological chart means for people. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the class. If you're interested in a full version and become an amateur and one day even a master astrologer, take a look at my course, which is a live course, 10 weeks, on my site, Askhollyhall.com, or reach out to me, Holly at Askhollyhall.com, if you're interested in private lessons. Enjoy the class.
This is Astrology 101 with me, Holly Hall, and I'll edit in what I said before later for the recording for everybody else. So first we're going to take a look at this apprentice cheat sheet, basically. And what this is all of the astrological signs. Now, some of you right away are going to be, what do I care about all of these other astrological signs because I'm just a Libra, or I'm just a Cancer, or I'm only an Aries? Well, you're going to be surprised that you're all of them, every single one, and some more prominent than others, depending on the birth chart. And we are going to take a look at somebody's birth chart later on as well. So also the sun sign. So when you say that I'm just an Aries, I'm just a Cancer, I'm just a Leo, you're referring to your sun sign, and you're not just your sun sign. The sun sign is very easy because it goes by the calendar year, and everybody can look it up because the sun changes years, changes month by month, not exactly on the months, obviously, and it's really easy to implement that. And then when horoscopes became popular in the 50s or 60s, then that even solidified the sun more. So now I do sidereal astrology, which is a mixture of Western and Vedic astrology, Eastern astrology. So most of you aren't the sun signs you think you are. And as I'm learning more Vedic astrology, I'm learning that even the sun sign is not your main sign, but we're not going to go there. We're only going to learn Western in this one. And Western is just as validating and as accurate. It's just a different modality. It's just adding different layers to it when you learn the other ones. So I'm going to go through all of the different house placements. All of the different planet placements. And this is going to start to make sense when you see it in a wheel, which I'm going to let you know what that means as well. Now, remember, as I said earlier, this is a prelude to my, which I'm going to figure all this out before then, trust me, to my larger class, which will involve a lot of homework and a lot of interacting in between just these sessions here. And by the end of a 10-week program, not only you'll be able to read your own charts, but you'll be able to read everybody else's as well. So what happens is I want you to picture this. There's a planet Earth, the circle in the sky, and you're born somewhere on that planet. If you were to take a high-powered telescope on the day that you were born, or your mother did, and looked up into the sky and saw the map of the sky from the point of where you were born, that's your astrological chart. The sun was here, the moon was there, Mercury, Venus were all these different placements around the earth. Now, they were also sitting in front of constellations or behind constellations because some planets are really far away. So those constellations are the zodiac sign. There's a constellation of Aries, constellation of Taurus, Gemini, Cancer, Leo, Virgo, constellation of Libra, Scorpio, Sagittarius, Capricorn, Aquarius, and Pisces. So all of the planets are sitting in those constellations, if you're with me still, of all of these different signs. So your sun sign, let's say it was Taurus, when you were born, the sun was sitting in the constellation of Taurus, or when you're looking at it this way, it was sitting in front of it. And all of these planets move at different speeds. So this is why somebody that was born the next day will have a different chart than you. Even somebody born in the next hour will have a slightly different chart than you will have, depending on where they were born and also what time they were born, because that's what creates the houses, is the time of your birth. If you don't know the time of your birth, you won't know what your ascendant is, and you won't know what your house placement is. And that's just a fact. And there's nothing else you could do about that except to find out. Now, often, if the moon changed that day, I can do an analysis with you through Q&A and with you or whoever else in your life that we're talking about, and I could figure out what your moon sign is, and then I can determine if you were born before or after a certain time, at least that much. Okay, so we're going to go through first the we got the 12 signs, which is Aries, and then these are what they represent. So Aries is a fire sign. So it's feisty, enthusiastic, outgoing, self-centered, self-actualized. They're usually extremely independent, pioneering, and they're assertive. And then Taurus is, and its ruler, Aries ruler is Mars. And it's also in mythology, Mars, Aries. Aries is a mythological being. In Taurus, is its ruler is Venus. So that's a planet of love. Mars is a planet of anger, action, passion. And Taurus is stable, steadfast, patient, or they're here to learn patience, and stubborn, jealous, and artsy. I don't know if I would necessarily say artsy, but they can be. Now, with that being said, I want you to, as we're going through this, know what your sun sign is. If you know what, you've got your chart in front of you, so you may know what your other signs are as well too. And that means that as a sun sign, that's what you're here to learn. You're here to learn Aries to be independent. You're here to learn Taurus to be much more patient. Now, as you can see, there's patience, or let's say there's steadfast and there's stubbornness. Notice that those are polarity characteristics, polar characteristics, polar opposites. So steadfast, persistence, patience is the opposite of stubborn, impatience. Okay, so you can carry both of those traits depending on the situation that you're in, and you will. You'll notice that sometimes you're enormously patient if you're a Taurus, and other times you have no patience at all, because it really depends. Or you're stubborn. You stick your heels in. Is that patience? In a sense, yeah. You're not budging. You're not going anywhere. But it could be to someone's detriment, so to speak. I'm going to open up the chat. And if you guys want to find the chat, it looks like a little chat bubble down in the bottom right-hand side. So there's Gemini, which is the ruler is Mercury. And that is communication, inquisitiveness, adaptability, and versatile. There's Cancer, which is ruled by the moon. It is sensitive, nurturing. It represents home, family orientation, or family orientated, and emotional. Leo, which is the ruler, is the sun. It is generous, showy, dramatic, creative. That's where I would put creative more, and artsy more. Leadership qualities, egotistical, fun-loving. There's Virgo, which is also ruled by Mercury, and that they share with Gemini. And you'll find that, see, Mercury is all about communication, conversation, what's right, what's wrong, wanting to learn, wanting to discover what's right and what's wrong. They both love to learn, and they both like to be right. The difference between Gemini and Virgo's need to be right is that Gemini sometimes just like to be right for the sake of being right, depending on what the rest of their chart is. And Virgos want to be correct. They want to be right, so they research whether they're right because they don't want to be wrong. Geminis don't care if they're wrong in general, depending on the rest of the chart, of course. And there's Libra, which is ruled by Venus, same as Taurus. They share the same planet. And they are other-orientated, diplomatic, peace-loving. They're the peacekeepers, peace at all costs people, refined. It says flirty. Some people would consider Libras flirty because they're very friendly. They're really people-orientated. They're chitter chatters. They just want people to like them. So some people might consider that flirty. Scorpio, its ruler is Pluto, but some people say the ruler is Mars, and that is magnetic, powerful, intense, persuasive, passionate. Some people say manipulative. They're fact finding on a deep level. That means they go way below the surface to find out where the issues are, where the problems are. They're not band-aid fixers. They're like, let's go deeper and find out where the core issue is. Sagittarius is ruled by Jupiter. They're idealistic, optimistic, can be scattered. I like to use the word, I'm not thinking of the word right now, but it's scattered probably isn't the best word for it. They have a tendency to be distracted easily because they're visionaries and they like a lot of things going on at once. Capricorn is ambitious, responsible, economical, efficient, disciplined, and intensive. Anyone with a lot of Capricorn in their chart make for very good self-employed. They don't like working for other people, and they do well in either autonomous careers or in management position. Aquarius is ruled by Uranus. It's impersonal, detached, original, humanitarian, independent, and rebellious. They're very unique in their personalities. And if you're born in Aquarius, that's what you're here to do, is learn to be more of a humanitarian and also learn to be more unique. And then there's Pisces, which is ruled by Neptune. That's where the psychic, the planet that's psychic or intuitive, is also in Neptune. It's very etherical. So there's also abandonment, feeling alone can be Pisces, and also like being alone as well. And that is sympathetic. In fact, I would say Cancer is more sympathetic. Pisces can be more compassionate in nature, depending on how they're utilizing their gift as a Pisces. Caring, responsive, psychic, spiritual, and escapist. Now, this is where it might get a little complicated, but now you're going to kind of mix in the sun signs with the planetary signs. The sun is a star, the moon is a satellite, the rest are planets. And but we just say planets. We're going to ignore Ceres and we're going to ignore Eris. There's a lot of other satellite-like miniature planet types and even vantage points through mathematical equations that a lot of astrologers use. I really don't use a lot of them. And Pluto got demoted to a miniature planet, or there's another word for a dwarf planet, and it's no longer a full planet, but whatever, what do they know? We still use Pluto, which was only discovered in 1930. Now, the sun represents why you are here. So what you want to do, if you've got this printed out, is, or you take a screenshot, is you want to draw a line from your sun to the meaning, what your sun is. So if your sun's in Scorpio, you're going to draw a line. And so you're here, even though it represents leadership, ego, power, creativity, vitality, spiritual, and purpose, and your identity. You're here to identify your purpose with what the sun sign is. Okay, and then we'll get into the house. Like, what if it's in the second house? What if it's in the third house? We'll get into that one. The moon represents what, okay, just making sure it's being recorded. The moon represents quite a few things. It basically it represents your emotional needs on a daily basis. So if your moon, let's say, is in Gemini, on a daily basis, your emotional need is to communicate, is to be inquisitive, and to be adaptable. And every day you need to emotionally express yourself by communicating. Let's say it's in Capricorn. Mine's in Capricorn, in sidereal, and Western is in Aquarius. In sidereal, which is spelled sidereal, if you guys are wanting to look it up, it means that somebody who likes to keep their emotions in control. They also like to be the boss of them. They need to be self-employed. I've always been self-employed my whole life. And and it also represents the moon also represents the mother, and it represents your childhood. So if you had a moon in Virgo, you may have experienced, and this is very important to understand, you may have experienced, when I say to my clients, oh, your mother was very critical and you felt that you couldn't live up to her expectations, either maybe your mother's moon was in Virgo or Capricorn, both of those would be relevant. They'd be like, oh my God, how do you know my mother? I'd be like, well, I don't always explain it this way because it can get a bit too technical. But I do explain that you are born and you chose your parents according to your trigger points, and so that you would be triggered. So you'll learn in advance and grow away from that. And also to learn that as your childhood is your experience. It's showing your childhood experience. So your mother may not, that's why I like to look up people's charts, mother's charts, because the mother often doesn't represent that at all, but that's how you see them. That's how you're filtering. These are all filters. These are all portals. This is how you filter people. Once you understand that, it takes the onus off them. Oh, I mean, because think about it this way. When you have a bunch, let's say you have a bunch of siblings, if you happen to have that, how come one sibling sees your parent completely different than you? Or how come you say, well, that person got preferential treatment and not me? It's your filter. It's how you see it. Sometimes that's a hard pill to swallow, but your moon represents your childhood, and it also can represent your past life. So if you got a moon in Taurus, most likely you dealt with money and finances in a past life. Your Mercury is your rational mind and your thinking and how you process all forms of communication. And see how that aligns with Gemini? That's the same. Moon is about emotions. It aligns with Cancer because that's the ruler, right? But let's say you've got your moon, your emotional state, in Aquarius or Capricorn, like I have, then there's a tendency to be more cool, more aloof. Some people might see you as being unemotional, or you try to control your emotions, or you're not overly emotional. You don't make a lot of decisions based on your emotions, which can be a good thing sometimes and not a good thing other times. So Mercury is how you filter communication. It's how you want to communicate to other people, and it's how you receive communication from other people. Okay, you think about like a two-way radio. So if your Mercury is in Gemini, it likes that. That's its natural home. So it likes to communicate, likes to learn, likes to share knowledge. This is all very comfortable. But if your Mercury is in Cancer, then it's more of a sensitive, nurturing, a slower emotional way of thinking. And so these people need time to absorb communication with no way. Do you understand my feelings? Do you understand how I'm if you know someone who's got Mercury in Cancer, you want to talk to them emotionally. So you want to use the word feel a lot. How does that make you feel? How do you feel about getting anchovies on your pizza? What did you yesterday? That way it works. The person will respond to you much less intellectual, but you'll get a response. People with Mercury and Gemini, you're going to use the word I think. I think. It depends. What if they've got their Venus in Cancer? Then if you're in a love relationship with them, or you're in a more intimate relationship with them, and I don't just mean sexual, I mean even like they're your children or your mother or your father or your best friend, and you want to get a more loving communication with them about something you really care about, then you want to use the word feel. That's how you get it out of them. Looking at Venus, it isn't just about who you love. If somebody could just chime in the chat room, if this is all clear and you can hear me clearly and you can see this image clearly, that would be great. So thanks, Terry. So Venus is not just about what you love and who you love. It actually has nothing to do with who you love at all. Although that's where I look when somebody's saying, hey, am I going to find the love of my life? I'm going to look at Venus and I'm going to look at Mars. Okay, so we're getting there. It'll all come together and then you can listen to this again. So I'm only going to go as far as Mars. I'll go through Jupiter, Saturn, and all that really quickly, but that'll get a little bit too complicated for you guys, for some of you. I'll show you in a second, like the larger one. Do you guys have your own chart in front of you? Do you have your chart in front of you so you can see what your Mars is in? See the little symbols? Look at the symbols here. So Mars looks like that. See, it looks like the male, the sign of male. So it looks like a circle with an arrow. But you should see it off to the side. There should be a little square that's telling you what they are all to. So Mars is that little circle with the square. Venus looks like the female sign. That's very typical. Mars and Venus. Mars looks like the male sign. Venus looks like the female sign. Mercury, that's a little more complicated, but it has like the circle with a T with a little hook on the top. Moon looks like the moon. Sun looks like the sun. Looks like a little round sun. Does that make more sense now, guys? So let's start with the sun is obvious, right? You look at your sun. You look at my sun sign is in Cancer. This means that I'm here to learn these traits. You're not lol obvious, not really. So these are different personality traits. I want you to look down at different layers of your personality. So your sun sign is what you're here to learn. Your moon sign is your emotional response to life. Your Mercury is how you communicate. You're all of them. All of them. So Mercury is how you communicate. Venus is how you love, what you love, who you love, the way that you love, what's your passion, what do you love, and how do you express that? So, for instance, if your Venus is in Leo, somebody tell me what their Venus is in, and I'll look that and I'll tell you what it means. Or all of you can tell me what your Venus is in, and I'll tell you what it means. Okay, so don't worry about the numbers. So Venus is in Aries. Now, you know what? You guys tell me what your sun sign is and what your Venus is in. So Kylie, oh, you're Aries and Aries. So that one's gonna be easy because you love like an Aries and you are learning to enhance that. I don't know how you printed it out. Okay, so everybody's got the same, right? Yeah, you can look inside the circle. That would probably be the best bet. So let me see if I can find. Okay, we're going to look at this one here now. This is a sample of what you guys see, right? Very similar to what you see. Forget about the houses right now. We're just going to focus on the two different signs. Maybe somebody tell me what your sun sign is and your Mars is in, because you guys have the same. So you Virgo and you Aries, the way that you live your life is also how you love your life. So for Virgo, you've always got a plan. When you go to do things that you love, like working with your partner, you love to plan things together. That's a lot of enjoyment for you. You problem solve together with your partner. You love to be a problem solver. Any type of job you have, you want it to be as if you're a problem solver. And you can be really hard on yourself, because problem solvers are critical. They have critical thinking. That's what problem solvers do. And it can make you hard on yourself as well, because that self-love is a planet of Venus, is a planet of love. It can make you hard on your partner, specifically when you're not happy with your partner. And Aries is you're here to learn to be more assertive, to be more independent, but you already love being independent. So it doesn't take much for you to do that. It's something that you really enjoy doing. And if you're not living your life independently, you're not in love with your life. And usually you like a partner that's extremely independent too, a little bit burly, a little bit rough, a little bit like assertive as you are. And you can be assertive in your relationships. If they're not assertive, you can get turned off by that very easily as well. So that's where that combination is. Now, if you take a look at here, there's your sun, there's a sun, there's Mercury, there's Venus, there's Mars, there's Moon. Okay, so Sun, Moon, Mercury, Venus, where's Mars? Mars. Does that starting to make sense that these are different layers of your personality? Different levels? So somebody give me their sun sign and their Mercury or Mars that are different. If somebody give me a sample of that. In the chat room. Oh, okay. So good. So I think my sun is in Gemini. Okay, good. So your Venus in Cancer, sorry, I had to scroll down. It wasn't scrolling down for me. Your Venus in Cancer, Lucy, means that you tend to mother your partners. You like to nurture. That's part of your, so people like this do really well as nurses or any kind of jobs where they're nurturing. You love your life to be much more calmer, much more relaxed, but it depends again on the rest of your chart. Mine is Gemini. My sun is in Leo, but I don't know how to find my Mercury or Mars. Okay, so Mars look within this circle. And Mars looks like the male, the sign of the male. And Mercury looks like a little person with horns on top. Looks like a circle. You can see it right here. So Kylie, with your sun in, Mars is in Gemini. Good. So with Mars in Gemini, so Mars is about taking action, your direction in life, what you're passionate about. And it's also how you act when you're angry or when you're frustrated. So Leo, Virgo, I don't know which is which. I'm thinking you're doing sun. Anyways, you'll have to put what the planet is. So with Mars in Gemini, there's a tendency to enjoy variety. So you like to do 2 or 3 things at the same time. You're very curious. So you usually have 2 or 3 projects going on at the same time because you're just curious about them. I always tell people with Mars and Gemini, don't worry about if you don't finish something. Once the curiosity is quenched, once you've learned what you wanted to learn, Gemini is about learning, then you move on. Someone can be a very quiet personality, but they have Mars in Gemini, and which means they don't talk until they're angry. The only time that they show passion for something is when they're angry, frustrated, or extremely motivated. Then you hear them talking. Then you know they're serious. So with Lucy, the really neat thing is your sun in Mercury is in Leo. So you think like a Leo, and you're here to learn to be like a Leo. So you're very creative, very colorful. There's childlike behavior where there's this playfulness about you. You need to be creative or you're not happy. You need to have fun. You need to play like a child on a regular basis or you're not happy. Some people will call these double Leos very romantic. So they get bored very easily if there isn't romance, if they're not romancing with life, which means being playful with life. And that will happen in relationships too. But here you've got a Virgo Mars. So there's a part of you that when it comes right down to it, you are very practical and rational and down to earth. And when you're not having that playful stuff happening in a relationship or in your life in general, just in your life, then you'll start getting nitpicky, critical of yourself. And you love planning the fun stuff too. Not as serendipitous as some Leos maybe. You like the planning stage of it. And you like to do that with your partner because that's part of the playfulness as well. You see? So now I can mix that all up myself in my head, but I want you guys to just compartmentalize it. So after this is done, you're going to look up what is my Mars. Well, in some of these sheets we have to, what does my Mars in Leo mean? What does my Mars in Gemini mean about me? So my Mars is in Libra and my sun is in Leo. So one is air and one is fire. That's a pretty good combination. And you look at air needs fire. Fire needs air to burn. And that's how we look like they get along together. Water and earth get along together. But fire and water don't get along. And so this is a good combination. So your Mars in Libra means that you need to be the peacekeeper, that you like things to be fair, that you're non-confrontational because you're peace at all cost. And the peace at all cost is because you don't want confrontation. You don't want loudness. You just want things calm and balanced and that stays the same, right? But here you are, a Leo, so you're born to learn to be much more assertive, to be more independent, to be more creative, to make sure that you have playfulness in your life. That's what you're here to do. Is it starting to make sense now? So we're going to stop at Mars. We're not going to go look at the other stuff. We're just going to stop at Mars. So I'm going to go to my cheat sheets. Okay, so we're going back to here again. So now I want you guys to do this again. In that circle, you see your planetaries. And what that is, it's literally Earth is in the middle, and that's space all around the Earth. And that's where all the planets were. The moon was over here. For instance, if you were born at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, you're going to see the sun up in the circle. You can see it up there. If you're born near midnight, you're going to see it down there. If you're born around noon, it's just like the clock. You're going to see it up there. If you were born around 10 in the morning, you're going to see it up on an angle here. And the horizon is here. Everything above the earth when you were born is there, and everything below the earth is there. So let's do this for fun. If you've got, see all those little glyphs? Some of them you don't understand. Some of them you just learned. You just learned what they are. How many of you have a whole bunch on the top or more on the bottom? Count them. Do you have more on the top or more on the bottom? So if you've got more on the bottom, it means you're more shy. You're more reserved. You like your own space. You're more private. Same with you, Terry. Now, that doesn't mean you're like that with people that you feel comfortable with, but on a regular basis, it means that you just kind of like to keep more to yourself. You're not assertive. You're not aggressive. It doesn't mean you won't assert yourself. If you got like Mars and Leo, you may assert yourself when you're pissed. But in general, you just don't go around being this crazy assertive person. If you've got some to the middle, left, some on the bottom, and a couple more to the right. How many are above the line, like above there? There is a meaning between the left and the right too, but I won't go there right now. Okay, now are any of those four the ones you just learned about right now? Are any of those the circle sun, the crescent moon? Okay, so then you'll be more reserved as well and more shy. The ones that you're learning about are the personal planets. They're the ones that are more about who you are. That makes sense? So let's sit with this for a bit and see if you guys are starting to understand it. Is it starting to make sense to you? Now, okay, good. Thanks, Joanne. And what about Pam? And Eunice? So Eunice, you got Sun in Taurus, Mercury in Aries, you think. Yeah, see, good job. So you're looking at the Aries. You got to look at the signs over here too. So Aries, I like to look at the symbol like the ram. It's like the curly horns on top. Taurus is the bull. So we got the bull's head with the little horns. And Gemini are the twins. So you got the numeral 2. Cancer is like a crab. So those are like the 2 crab claws, like this. Leo, we just look at that like the mane or the tail, that curly part, because Leo is a lion. Virgo makes no sense at all because Virgo is the symbol of a woman with a shaft of wheat. So, but the symbol doesn't make any sense to us. Libra, that is actually when you look at the law, because Libra is all about law, legal, fairness. That's like the scale, balance scale. Scorpio can be easy because it's got that tail with the sharp, right? So the Scorpio has that sharp tail, and they can have a sharp tongue as well. Sagittarius is a centaur, so it's half human and half horse, and it's got the bow. So that's the symbol of the bow. And in the sky, that's what it looks like too. The constellation looks like that bow. That's where they got some of it. They look at the constellations. Capricorn, no idea why it's that. And they changed the symbol too. Aquarius is the water barrier. Makes no sense because it's not a water sign. It's an air sign. But I like to look at it as electricity because Aquarius is air. And electricity goes through air. Can go through air. I don't know, air. And Pisces is a 2 fish. So this is supposed to be like the 2 fish going in opposite directions. So water signs in general are more sensitive, intuitive. So whatever part of your chart, so for instance, your sun sign, if it's in Cancer, Scorpio, or Pisces, you're a water sign. And you're here to be more intuitive, more nurturing, more caring, more thinking about emotional response to others and how people respond emotionally. And if it's in your moon, that's very natural. You're intuitive, you're emotionally cohesive, you're emotionally in tuned as well. And if it's in Mercury, then you think emotionally, you think on an emotional level. So you use the word feel a lot. Like, I don't feel that's the right answer. I don't feel I want to go to school today. I don't feel you're right. I feel you're wrong. You'll use that a lot. And when people communicate, it can be hurtful for you. And when you communicate back, you communicate more with emotions. And if it's Scorpio, you'll be more investigative, that type of stuff. Same with Venus. You love emotional interactions with people. You love it when people tell you about their feelings. You love to share your feelings with other people. You like that kind of interaction back and forth. And Mars, the same, similar, very similar. If it's in an air sign, should have started, sorry, a fire sign, should have started there. Aries, Leo, and Sagittarius. Those are 3 fire signs. Those are more reactive. They're instant. Their instinct is strong. They're fiery. They're more assertive. They're more aggressive. Even if it's underneath, that'll calm it down quite a bit when it's below the surface there. But there's still this tendency to want to be more assertive, specifically when you feel comfortable with people and you have more of a fiery, and you want instant reaction from people, not always having the patience, depending on where it is. And then we have air sign, which is Gemini, Libra, and Aquarius. And then we have the water sign, like I said. Oh, and we have the earth sign, sorry, which is Taurus, Virgo, and Capricorn. So you might want to take a moment and let's just circle your fire signs. Do you have Aries? Is your sun, your moon, your Mercury, your Venus, your Mars, or any of them in Aries, Leo, or Sagittarius? And you can circle them or put a square in them or put a triangle so you can tell the difference. Maybe do a triangle. Triangle for fire. Like a fire pit. It's not dropping down for me. Okay, thanks. And then what about your water? You could make that maybe look like a little water droplet. Do you have Cancer, Scorpio, or Pisces anywhere in your chart? And you can put little water droplets around either the planet or the sign, doesn't really matter. And you can even put in the chat, how many of these do you have? What about Earth? Taurus, Virgo, let's make that square. Taurus, Virgo, and Capricorn, because we're all so serious and we're square. Earth is very serious, very down to earth, very practical, rational. They're the problem solvers. They're the people you go to when you want your problem solved. They're the people that you invite because they'll help clean up after dinner. The fire signs, they're out of there. As soon as the fun's done, they're gone. If they got a lot of fire. Okay, so look at squaring off your earth signs. And then air, maybe make it a circle. Gemini, Libra, and Aquarius. Put a circle around them. So how many, just put down how many do you have, how many air do you have, how many how many fire do you have, how many earth do you have, how many air do you have, how many water do you have? If anybody wants to write that in the chat. And this will be fun to play with too, with if you look up your partner's charts, and you can look up online where they'll just tell you what the signs are and the planets. You don't have to see that funky looking wheel. And you can look up, whoa, how does my partner emotionally react? Okay, so 3 out of the personal planets are Sun, Moon, Mercury, Venus, and Mars. Those are 5. So 3 out of 5, if you were using those, are air. That means you're predominantly an air person. You're a thinker. You're in your head. You say, I think a lot. I think this, I think that. Communication is important to you. An exchange of an intellectual content is important to you. You can be flighty and airy and head in the clouds, thinking all the time. People will look at you, you're zoned out. Yeah, I'm in my head. I'm thinking. If somebody says, how do you feel? You'll say how you think. So for instance, a very strong water sign, people have a lot of water in their chart or their moon in a water sign. If you ask them how they feel, they're going to say, that hurt me. That bothered me. That upset me. I feel excited. I feel happy. I feel peaceful. Where 8 in water. Yeah, it depends if you're looking at the, I just want you to look at Sun, Moon, Mercury, Venus, and Mars. So if you're a thinker and somebody says, how do you feel? You're going to say, well, of course it frustrates me when you're not answering my question. That's not how they feel. That's how they think. And they put some context to it, some rationale, right? A fire will be like, you're pissing me off, or I'm so excited. And you're going to get instant reaction. So 3 fire, 2 water, 4 air, 4 earth, and 3 air. So that's, if most of, okay, which ones are Sun, Moon, Mercury, Venus, Mars? So let's just look at that. The male sign, the female sign, the little dude with a hook on its head, the crescent moon, and the circle sun. What is, put your symbols around there. And thank you for your patience, guys, because you're helping me teach. So if you have, in those 5 planets, if you have a predominant of one element, then you are more intuitive, more sensitive, more feeling, need more nurturing, need to give nurturing. And that's where you feel comfortable in life. If you have fire, then you want to be more leadership, more dynamic, more playful, more fun, more feisty, more independent. If you have earth, you're more grounded, you're more problem solving, you're more pragmatic, systematic, calculated. You plan things ahead of time. Don't like sudden surprises. Okay, Leah, thank you. So this one might be easier for you to do as well. So now you see your circle, right? And you can all of you see what's the first house, what's the second house, what's the third house, what's the fourth house, what's the sixth house? Can you see the houses? And this only pertains to those of you who know what time you were born. Does everybody have their time of birth, first of all? That's here. Okay, good. So when you see this here, you can see this is the first house. You can see it in the middle of the circle. Hopefully is apparent on the chart. Let me know if it is in your chart. This is from Astro.com. This is a good place to get charts too. So first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. They're all different sizes. Don't worry about that. Okay, good. Thanks, Joanne. Okay, good, Lucy. So now what you want to take a look at and this is where we're going to end it because I'm going to keep it simplified. If you're interested in becoming an amateur astrologer, then you want to take a look at the course that I'm doing, and it will go, everybody will be showing themselves, everybody will be able to talk, so that everybody can interact as well. Now we're going to share this one. So you want to look at, again, only the sun, moon, Mercury, Venus, and Mars. You only want to look at those and look at what houses they're in. And the houses also add more layer to that part of your personality. So where is your sun? What house is your sun sign in? Let's just focus on the sun sign, the circle with the dot in the middle. Which one? The third, the 10th. So this is interesting because the third and the third are people that like to learn. They like to learn new things. You might get bored easily, or you just want to learn a little bit of everything, but you need, because the third house represents also Gemini. So you want to learn, you want to communicate in this lifetime. Communication is important to you no matter what. So for instance, Joanne and Kylie, sorry, if I'm trying to see, so your sun is in Aries, Kylie. So Aries in the third house means that you can be, even though it's a bit shy, you can be assertive in communicating with people when you want to teach them things. So if somebody came up to you who had a lot of water in their chart and said, oh my God, I was so sick yesterday, I don't know what's wrong with me, right away you'd want to give them some information. You'd want to communicate with them some information that might help them feel better. Oh, well, I read yesterday that that there's this flu going around, and bunch of my friends are taking elderberry juice. That's what you would do, right? And Joanne would do very similar, depending on, you want to pass on information. The 10th house is more goal orientated and career orientated, and your placement in society. In this day and age, it tends to be more career orientated. So your career, your job, working hard, being a hard worker, being respectable, being respected, whatever your sun sign is in, you'll talk about that. You like to talk about jobs with other people. What do you do for a living? Might be one of the first things you talk about. That's a Capricorn energy, the 10th house also. And that means that you're more assertive and you get your own jobs and you work hard for yourself. You don't expect other people to get jobs for you. Trust me, there's people out there that do. And so yours is in Gemini. Oh, it's Joanne. So we'd have to look at whatever Eunice's, excuse me, sun sign is in the 10th house. So Lucy, being in the 11th house, you're more of a humanitarian. Whatever your sun sign is expressing, it's also expressing it through humanitarian ways. It's expressing it through your groups of friends, and also expresses it through your goals, your wishes, your dreams. This is how you express yourself when you want your goals and your wishes and your dreams. And it's also how you express yourself in your groups. Having groups of friends or having your friendships are important to you. So if Lucy's sun sign is Leo, then she is the one. Leos love to throw parties. They're the extravagant, playful ones. And so you're the one who likes to throw the party for your friend. Oh, it's my friend's birthday. I'm throwing a party. We're having backyard barbecue, and all my friends are going to come. That's you. So let's look at what moon your what house your moon is in. So give me your moon sign and the house it's in one line. Good job. See, you guys got it. You got it. You're putting it together. Awesome. Okay, so Capricorn in the first house. Your moon in Capricorn is in the first house. So the first house represents your identity. Okay, I know it sounds like the sun sign, but the first house says, who am I? And then with the moon in Capricorn, it's who am I emotionally? And how do I make sure I got my shit together emotionally so that people don't see that I fall apart emotionally? It also means that emotionally you don't like working for other people. You like to be self-employed because emotionally it feeds you on a daily basis, or you need to be the boss, or you need to be in an autonomous job because that's how you like people to see you. So Virgo moon and Virgo in the 12th house, that's a lot of karmic and past life stuff going on there. And even though the 12th house is above, it still makes for a very reserved sign. And it's also in the 12th house. Virgo doesn't really like the 12th house. So this can mean that you're very self-critical. Even though in front of other people, you look like you're an amazing problem solver, you're practical, you're rational, but privately, you're quite self-critical. And it also can show an unavailability of the mother in a past life relationship with mother, but an abandonment feeling or an unavailable mother as well. It also gives some strength to your health as long as you take care of your digestive, because Virgo is all about health, like food, health, digestion. So moon and oh my gosh, Joanne, moon in 4th house in Cancer, you could not be any happier. That the moon ruler is the 4th house and it's in Cancer. So you are very in touch with yourself emotionally. You wear your heart on your sleeve. People know how you're feeling. And you unapologetically. You're very much into your children. Your children are everything to you. Whether it's a successful parent-child relationship or not, and so are your grandchildren. Like, it's your life, it's your home, it's where you feel best. You're very blessed to have all of that in your chart. It's very comfy. No karmic lessons there. We all have them though, right? You just might be moving closer to them. Yeah. Well, it depends. What degree is it in? What degree is your moon? So what is the number beside your moon sign? It'll be a small number under yeah, what are the numbers? So the first number is 17. Okay, so yeah, we'd have to see when the sign of Cancer, when anything in a water sign is moving through your 4th house. Preferably, so looking at July 2024. Possibly happening July of 2024. She's waiting for the money, honey. Oh, it's 30 Cancer. All right, then it's going to be later. Right on the cusp. Wow, you got a real gift for being a mom. You can go anytime. Just go. That's your gift. Is me. You probably all you want to do is be a mom. It shows 2025 as moving there. But we'd have to look at other parts of the chart as well. Okay, so yeah, because that's when it gets to 30 degrees. Um, yeah. So what we want now before we sign off, and I know this got started late, very late, and I thank all of you for your patience. And I'm not know what happened to all those 49 other people that signed up, but that happens, right? When it's free. Um, excuse me, I still have a tail end of a cough. I want you to ask me questions now. Anything to do with astrology, anything that you've learned here. What have you learned? You learned that you're a multi-layer, multifaceted human being. That's what you learn. You're not just one sign. You're much more complicated and complex than that, as should be. But now you can understand the layers. Like, why am I? It's sauce pot. What is that? It is like it clicks in on very basic level, knowing there is way more. Yeah, absolutely. Oh, it's spot on. Okay, are we doing talk to text? Yeah, perfect. It's okay. That was cute. So now you can see how complex it can be. Now you're going to compartmentalize and you might see some contradictions. When and if you ever get much more versed in the language, and you may not. I mean, I know astrologers. I've had readings with astrologers, and they still compartmentalize. They still say, "Well, your Mercury's in this," and I'm like, "Well, it's not, because if you take a look at my Mars, it kind of cancels out part of it. Or if you see that it's in the 7th house, it cancels out part of it." A lot of them don't. They still compartmentalize. So don't feel like that means astrology is wrong because of that. But it's, you still get a great, like I had one client right away. She went to she used Astro.com to get her chart. And so she went in and started reading her own chart, because they have these free ones that you can look, and she goes, "Oh my god, doom and gloom." I said, "No, don't focus on everything that they say, because it's a computer that's compartmentalizing it. It makes more sense. I never just felt I was on fire, but now I know there is more." Yeah, thanks, Kylie. It can get even, like, it's one of those rabbit holes. Like, astrology is never ending. Like, it's a never ending language to learn. I love it. Okay, so hopefully you guys have some of the content that you were able to print out, and you've got your chart now, and now you know what all the different planets means. Feel free to print out your other people's charts, take a look at what they're all about. That's a way to learn. That's the way that I first I learned from using my own chart for about 2 years, only my own chart. And then I started experimenting by looking at other people's charts, starting to figure out them as well. So it starts to click. It's like learning how to drive. The more that you do it, the more that you learn. And then next thing you know, you're looking at somebody's moon sign. You're not even thinking. You're like, "Yeah, I know. I knew you were a Gemini," even though your sun sign's a Cancer, because you're chitty chatty. When you're emotional, Geminis like to talk. They need to communicate. That's how they sort things out. Okay, is there any questions before I go? Even on something I didn't teach, if you've got a question I can answer about astrology. You guys want to look at your rising sign too. Your ascendant, it's ASC. It'll be right. I'll show you. I'll show you. It'll be right here. See this AC? So in this case, this person's ascendant is in Gemini. That's how you want people to see you. That's how you want people to see you. That's how you present yourself. So if mine's in Leo, and I'm a Leo in sidereal. In Western, I'm a Virgo. So in sidereal, I'm a Leo, and my rising is Leo. So what they see is what they get. But all my planets are lower. So I can come across as a party animal when someone meets me. And then when they get to know me, I'm not a party animal anymore. um, as much, you know. So you want to look at your ascendant too. How do people see me? Do people see me differently than the way that I am? So if you're a Virgo and your ascendant is in Gemini, like this person is a Scorpio and their ascendant is in Gemini, they are not at all what they don't appear to be at all who they really are. They'll appear to be more communicative, talkative, jibber jabber, sharing knowledge, easy to talk about a little bit about everything. But then once you get to know them, they're very private and reserved and standoffish, and don't get too close because I don't quite trust you yet. That's the Scorpio stuff. I wish that a lot of people did more personality charts with me. The discovery, I just put that in for my readings now, the discovery one, because you could just get to know who you are. Just get to know all the different, like that's all we're here to do, is to learn who we are. Who are we? Instead of trying to be what society wants us to be, what the matrix wants us to be, what our mother, our father, our partner, our boss wants us to be, and we just get all jumbled up with their expectations. Who are you? And what, in certain circumstances, who are you? Everyone's different in different circumstances. You start to see that. That makes sense. Okay, everyone. Thank you very much. I hope this has been an introduction for you. If you're interested in the full Monty, I might change the date. I have it set for October 18th right now, but I might change that. But you can still sign up, and I'll let you know when it's happening. Thank you so much for your patience. And thank you for letting me use you as specimens to show people different things in the chart. I'm sorry I didn't get to use one of your charts because of all of the complications we're having, but thanks again.